That's it's just a lot of bravery to start something. I think most people talk about things they want to start, but they never actually do it. And actually just getting over that hurdle of beginning is tough for most people, just because I don't think most people are comfortable enough with failing. And I heard a great quote from somebody where he said, "Embarrassment is an underexplored emotion. Go out there and make a fool of yourself."
Wow, I love that.
Yeah, and I think that's something that you, at least from what I gathered from your profiles and stuff, is that you're very unapologetically yourself. And I want to know, like, is that something that you were born with? Is it something you learned how to do, or is it just something that happened?
Mm, it was definitely built.
Mm.
Definitely. I come from a culture not now separating Latin America because I was raised in all my teenage years in Israel.
Mm.
And it's a culture where so much judgment goes around. It's insane. Like if you're a little bit different, you're so hated for it. And it's like I saw that and I try to like challenge myself all the time in slowly getting myself out of my comfort zone. And I was always, since like age 13 to 14, always so like magnetized about self-development and self-empowerment. And like I remember my first ever video on YouTube that I looked up was how to become confident.
Did you get recommended a Charisma on Command guy that was popular back then?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh,
I
he
don't
was so big.
remember.
I did similar things, so that's why I asked with
Okay,
this.
okay. Yeah, and I remember like the few first exercises that I did for myself.
Mm.
One of them was I used to challenge myself. Today it's like so silly for me, right? Because I
Mm.
look back and I'm like, but I used to walk alone and then I used to challenge myself to sit like in a random bench out there and count like and just to sit alone. I used to feel so embarrassed to just be seen
Oh
alone.
wow.
And I used to like sit down for like and I used to count like 10, 9, 8, and boom, get
Interesting.
up and keep walking.
Interesting. I think that's a very fascinating exercise to do because now, with your phone always being on you, you can sit down, take out your
And be
phone,
with your
and
phone
you
and
feel
seem
less,
busy.
awkward. You don't feel like people are watching you. But if you just sit down there and look out, like that's a different. I remember I was going to walk with someone on the prom a few weeks ago, and they were late by an hour because they got stuck in traffic. And I'm very comfortable by myself. I don't really
Mm,
worry about what other people think.
yeah.
So I just sat down on a bench and I looked out into the ocean for about an hour or so. And this one guy came up to me and was like, "Hey man, are you okay?" Because he thought I was like depressed or something. So I was just sitting there peacefully. And that's kind of something we've developed now is you can't just be by yourself, and people are uncomfortable to be by
That's
themselves.
fascinating to
Yeah,
me. That's crazy to me.
yeah. So that's like that was the first step you do, is just sitting on this bench by yourself. What was the next things you tried doing?
So I used to choose monthly challenges of
Mm.
like something that I'm doing every single day for a month. And I remember this month that completely changed my life. And a lot of times I speak about this and people don't understand the correlation that it had with self confidence, which is cold showers. And
Interesting.
I'll explain now why it's such a deep connection with.
Can I take a guess at it? Because I don't. How do I put this? I hate cold showers because I hate the cold water.
Of
It's not my
course.
favorite thing. But the idea, the principle behind it, I know is that doing tough things is a muscle, and if you don't train that muscle, it doesn't get better. So just the fact that you are willing to do something you know you're not going to like every single morning means you're better at doing things you don't like trying to approach people or be confident. The
100%. Yeah,
yeah.
you got it. And something very fascinating started to happen to me very naturally. Like throughout this month, by day 15 or like 20, I started to do really like I just started to be more comfortable and more
Mm,
out. Like there was one time that I was in this party and there was this guy that I liked
mm,
and I never used to approach guys. Like I'm always like, oh, if a guy likes me, he needs to come to me.
yeah.
And one of my friends like challenged me to go like kiss him. I was 16, okay? And I'm like, and she's like, if you're not gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. I'm like, you know what? I don't even drink.
Yeah.
But I was like, cold showers. Boom, just go in the water, just do it. And I go and I grab this guy and I just kiss him. I just kiss him, right? And that day for me was life changing because I was like, what happened? Nothing. It's a great memory that,
Yes.
I created for myself.
Yes.
And I can look back and say, wow, I was so brave.
I love that you say like what happened, nothing. That's most of the time when you think about doing something risky, nothing is the outcome, and people don't realize that. They think I always tell people to play like the what's the worst that can happen game with themselves. So it's like you miss a meeting at work. What's the worst that can happen? Your boss gets angry at you. Okay, what's the worst that can happen then? He doesn't recommend you for promotion. Okay, what's the worst happens then? You don't climb the corporate ladder. What's the worst that happens then? You have to look for a new job. Is that so bad? It's like, no, the actual worst case thing that can happen is not as bad as you think it is. So why are you fearing the worst case so much?
Yeah.
But most of the time, the worst case is nothing.
Well, something did happen. Actually, his ex was there and she got angry, but that's another thing. But, even that, like, it was a memorable experience that I still know to this day in my head,
Interesting. And that was kind of the beginnings of it. And you mentioned that story, you were 16, so this started really young for you.
Very young, very young.
And you're 23 now, so it's been like a 7-year journey of just kind of building this up. Do you feel like you're still progressing with it, or do you feel like
it's an endless journey all the time? Like today, I was thinking that I'm now growing my business is growing. I'm changing my prices, which is very scary for me. I'm like, oh my God, people will stop coming, or they see me as evil, or what? But those are thoughts that are normal when you evolve. It has to feel uncomfortable. It has to feel scary. If it doesn't feel scary, then you're not taking chances and you're not growing.
Yes. Yeah, I think the thing of like people think you're evil or people stop coming and stuff. I think you're probably comfortable with where it is now, and trying to get outside that comfort zone is an intimidating thing. But that's you. If you just make lateral moves in your life, you never go anywhere, right?
100%.
I think the other thing to that is whatever you think about yourself or your own actions will always be worse than what other people think of you or your actions. You're your own worst critic. Now, there's obviously exceptions. You can have the world's biggest hater, but that's not most people. I have one guy.
And even if they do, like what?
Yes,
you were saying?
No, so I have one guy that leaves negative comments on my videos, and I'm like, I have 10 viewers. How's one of them not like me already? But it's also like he has his username on YouTube is like deleted user something. So obviously he's a nobody. So I'm not gonna sit there and get offended by this guy. I'm like, who is he? Why do I care?
And what does he say?
He says stuff like I mumble too much or I don't give direct answers, which is like both true, but why does he care?
At least he's watching the video. He's staying for the whole thing.
Yeah. He's my biggest hater and my biggest fan.
Yeah, of course.
I also think back to it, like a few years ago, I was a bartender, and one of my managers at the bar, he just didn't like me at all, and I never found out why, but I did find out that I was right. He just did not like me. And I remember I used to be so worried about it. And I would think like, why doesn't he like me? Am I doing something wrong? Am I being a bad person to him? And now it's 3 years later. I've not heard a single thing about that guy. He's not in my life anymore. He doesn't affect it anymore. And now I think back, why did I care? He was a temporary part of my life, and I spent so much time worrying about him. I do want to touch on, you post about free will a whole lot on your page. Like, did this story lead to that obsession of free will where you can just go do things?
Yeah, I think that people are so scared of their own shadow. I can give you an example of something that happened this week. And I was like, people are actually in that mindset. I was like actually shocked. I am a Zumba teacher, right? I host different events, and I started to do one in the promenade. And obviously, people are watching, but they don't really care. They're walking around in the promenade. They see us dancing there. And now we're like 10 people just vibing, blah, blah, blah. And then I see one of my friends, he's running. It's a guy, he's running. But anyway, it's a guy that was running in there. And I said, like, hey, my friend, whatever. And he's like, oh, no, no, I don't want to dance. I don't even know if that's what he said. But he's like, oh, I can't like dance here.
Something along those lines, yeah.
Yeah, like when everyone is watching. I'm like, what? Like, who cares? Literally, who gives a shit?
Yes. So
Who gives?
I have an interesting story on that because I don't like dancing in public either. But I do love dancing by myself, like when I'm alone or whatever. And I also dance with close friends. And I was living with a roommate a few years ago, and his girlfriend spent basically like all her time at our apartment. She basically lived with us. So after a while, I got comfortable with her too. And I would dance around them just in the apartment by myself. And she would ask, why don't you ever do this when we go out? I didn't really have an answer because like the immediate answer in my head was like, oh no, I'm just shy. But I don't think anything else about my character kind of or suggests that I'm a shy person, you know? So I did what any smart person should do, and I asked my therapist about it. And he said maybe the reason you're scared to dance by yourself is because you'll be signaling to other people you're by yourself. And it's something that I think about a lot. It's a lot of the things you fear doing, you fear what it says to other people about you, you know? And maybe dancing is just that lack of care is not something he wants to signal to other people for whatever reason. But I think it's stupid because we don't view other people's actions like that. You don't look at what other people do and think, what does it say about them? More often than not, you look at what other people do and think, what does it say about me, right? Because I think when people see you dancing out in the park, they're not offended by your confidence. They're offended by their lack of confidence. And that's what bothers them, you know?
Maybe, yeah.
Hey guys, hope you enjoyed that clip from the interview of Augu. If you want to come onto the podcast, remember, all are welcome. Just fill in the form in the description and we'll see if we can have you on. If you want to watch the full podcast, click on the link here. If you want to watch anything else from the channel, click on the link here. Thanks for watching, guys.